The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not representative of the opinions and doctrine of Morris Community Church. We reserve the right to change our minds, and we reserve the right to be wrong. Welcome to the Roasted Christian Podcast. This is Bobby.
I'm John. Here at the Roasted Christian, we like our ideas the way we like our coffee, roasted.
Johnny, we again are here on a Saturday morning.
In the literal coffee corner.
In a literal coffee corner, which I gotta say, I enjoy.
It's kind of cool. I was listening to the recording and just the whole, coffee shop a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Yes, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Whitney said when she listened to it, it was neat because at times when we pause in other recordings, she's like, it's dead silent, right? And
right.
She's like, did I shut it off? Did something break? She doesn't know. And then so I'm like, well, that's actually a really good point. She can hear really, kind of poor acoustic music in the background and or the coffee grinder and the steamer and stuff
right.
like that. So, I enjoy doing this too. When we,
this is marketplace ministry, Bob, for our podcast. We're out here doing it.
Marketplace ministry. Yep. We're just sitting here waiting for people to come to us so we can minister to them.
We do have an extra mic if anyone wants to.
Yeah, we're not broadcasting live. They're not going to be able to hear this and be like, "Oh, I'll swing down."
If we do it again, you will know.
Yeah, you'll know. This morning, I did the first round of a French press versus filtered coffee machine taste test.
Okay.
And Whitney made it, the French press for me, and showed me how to do it. I was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. But immediately taking the taste test, at first I did a visual, and the visual was clear, obvious that one was very more watered down and the other one was not. And now talking with you, it appears that maybe we didn't have the water in the French press long enough for
that's my guess
flavored. So we had hot water in the French press with the beans for 2 minutes, and you're saying 4.
Right. I've heard 4. I've gotten good results with 4. It tastes like real coffee with 4. But there are
kind of like Motel 6.
Oh,
yeah.
There are a lot of variables. There's how often the coffee is stirred. If you just let it sit, there's not as much opportunity for the flavor to get into the water.
Okay.
Water temperature would play a part.
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be basically as close as possible to boiling without boiling.
Okay. Whitney mentioned that. She's like, we want it to get hot, but just not boiling.
Right. And then I think actually the size of the grind is important, but that I think is more for making sure it doesn't pass through the filter.
Yeah, we did a coarse
when you press
grind.
it. Okay.
So there were chunks. There were legit chunkage.
And then it's just a matter of how many beans you actually put in, which is another variable.
That's true.
So and actually one of the reasons
I think she did 2 tablespoons.
Okay. I'm not sure. I usually just kind of guesstimate.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I tend to stay away from French press, because a good French press is awesome. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's more of you got to be exact every time, and you got to measure it out. And there's just enough variables to make it go wrong. Mm-hmm. Whereas filtered coffee, I know how much beans I'm putting in there. I don't have to change the grinder setting on my grinder.
Yeah.
I just put it in there, and it comes out relatively identical every single time. Which is why I do kind of want to try pour over, because I feel like that has a few less variables than French press.
Yeah.
But same kind of basic concept, a little more than a drip.
I saw Whitney and I were watching in the DIY network a college student who was going to grad school and building his own house. So it was like the little tiny house thing. And it was okay, what he was building. There were some cool elements. He was doing architecture, and he had this kind of really cool just element that the whole top was going to be plexiglass, essentially, so that way, corrugated plexiglass or something like that, so that way light can shine through from the whole, all the way around it.
Oh, nice.
So that was neat. But he put in a built-in drip, a pour-over coffee like station. So what he did is he took just like pipe and a mount and just screwed the pipe into the wall, and then he had a T. Then he used essentially a beaker glass.
Okay.
For like science beaker projects.
Yep.
Just put it in there, put your filter on, and he's like, there you go.
Yep.
I got my coffee station. And Whitney and I looked at each other and like, that's the one definitely ingenious thing he's done, because the rest of it was kind of plywood, and it had just a very
making your own house is like whatever, but that homemade coffee.
You could tell like the element in his mind of finished edges and a completed look was not one of his priorities, right? So everything just kind of had that, I made this out of plywood look, because he literally did.
Just
everything
made it
was
out of plywood. Yeah.
So none of the edges of the plywood had, like a molding on top of it. So that way it just gave it a different, you just saw the end butt of the plywood, and you didn't have like a finished piece to, like all of his cabinets were that way. So you saw the edges instead of.
End butts are the worst.
Yeah. You don't want that end butt just sticking right out and looking right at you. You don't want to wake up in the morning and see some end butt.
Nope.
All right.
So speaking of coffee.
Yes.
I know someone who is very into coffee, very aware of, buying green beans.
Okay.
He gets all of his stuff online. It's what I would take to be a pretty primo site.
Mm-hmm.
He is also all about the flavored coffee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Flavored coffee.
And I was like, I always figured like,
does that feel just not
if
authentic to
right.
you? Yeah. Okay.
I always figured like if you're a loser and you can't really handle real coffee and cream and sugar is just not enough for you, then you go with flavored coffee and then you add some cream and sugar.
Yeah.
But his it's not a casual thing for him, I guess. Like he's actually really into it, and he does his research, and he knows where beans are coming from, and he has an idea of like acidity levels and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like,
whoa. So maybe
is there like just
science?
an untapped world that I haven't really gotten into, and is
because of your high nose snobbiness?
Right. I don't know. So what's your opinion on flavored coffee?
I think there's a time and a place. Just like Matthew Baker said, it's about relationship and your heart. And that's when you think about flavored coffee. It's about the heart and your relationship with it.
Take some serious self-examination.
So I tend to. So right now we're at the Comic Cup. There are 4 pumps at which I could have selected my coffee out of. I chose the house coffee because the other 3 had flavors.
Okay.
So I think that pretty much sums up. If I have a non-flavored option.
There's the house blend, and then there's the French roast.
Oh, there's a French roast. Okay.
Which I think I grabbed. But yeah, then there's a white caramel something.
Yeah, and then the Highland Grog.
Right. Now
I tend to avoid Highland Grog as much as possible.
I was going to say, I'm actually pretty good with Highland Grog.
Yeah.
I'd try not to get it for my own house.
I'm not okay with the rummy flavor.
Okay.
I don't like that in the coffee. And I'm okay with rum in general, like drinking it, like in the, Coke and rum.
Yeah.
Or something else. I haven't found a rum yet that I went, ooh, I like that rum. Like, I haven't found that.
I really haven't
that way,
tried
I definitely
much.
Don't like just rum flavor in coffee. I don't like it.
It probably shows my ignorance that I don't even taste the rum. Like, I didn't know rum was a flavor in the Highland Grog.
It's in this one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's in all of them, but I know it's in this one. Yeah, I would say.
I mean, is there a stigma with flavored coffee, or just we all have maybe bad experiences with it?
There's probably a stigma, and your friend, my guess is the one redeeming value of flavored coffee is actually researching what's the good stuff out of flavored coffee, because there's got to be some type of high-end potential to flavored coffee that we're just not seeking because we're just getting the syrupy poured kind of like add some flavor to this coffee.
Well, I guess that's the question. Flavor. Can you do high-end flavored coffee? I mean, does the flavor totally negate the quality of the bean? Because I feel like that's the same thing.
That's
like
kind of the
with
point,
hops
isn't it? With flavor
in beer.
Yeah.
Like you have crappy beer, you dump in hops, and hey, tastes like an IPA.
Yeah.
But like really, it's
Just
you can
crappy,
tell.
cheap beer.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Maybe
same thing with
isn't
with
that what
coffee.
flavored coffee does? Like,
I mean,
you
that was
essentially
my
are
initial
taking out
thought.
the coffee and
Right.
you're adding flavor.
But
Because I want the coffee itself, the flavor to come out. Like every coffee itself has a different taste.
oh, for sure.
So
So-
why wouldn't I want the natural? Maybe
Well,
maybe
but
we just
see,
let's judge this guy.
I would use that argument on like condiments on like
Okay.
burgers
Yeah,
or
yeah,
meat or something. Like those things have flavor that I like.
Yeah.
Why would you ruin it with like A1 sauce or something?
Okay, now A1 sauce with a steak, yes. I do not
Right.
recommend putting A1 sauce on a steak because the steak either can stand up on itself or it can't.
Right.
Salt and pepper while it's making, that's it. Don't add any more. Just let that thing cook in the butter and the salt and the pepper, whatever else you got, but no A1 sauce. That you're ruining the steak.
Okay.
You're adding a totally different flavor. And you're like, oh, all steak tastes good. Okay. It's because A1 is like the bomb. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But ketchup and like mayonnaise on a hamburger? You think that ruins the hamburger?
Again, if a really good hamburger can actually
if you
stand up
douse-
on its own.
But if you douse that stuff, yeah. The ketchup and the mustard to me is an element of the texture of biting in and getting like
Okay.
the runoff and the juicy.
Yeah, so
and
maybe it's the texture that I don't really care much about.
yeah.
Like sometimes if the flavor needs to be there, then fine, I'll put some ketchup on there.
Yeah.
But
And plus,
don't
if
know.
you get some homemade ketchup too, sometimes that's like really adds a different. It's like complementing flavors, right? You're like, oh, I get a little bit of this, I get a little bit of that. That makes the whole burger taste XYZ.
right.
Yeah.
So here we are at coffeebeandirect.com,
Okay.
which I just discovered from this guy. And they sell green coffee, they sell roasted coffee, and they sell flavored coffee.
Okay.
And it's all pretty reasonable prices. The one I'm looking at right now is chocolate peanut butter cup coffee.
Oh no way! Nope. Okay, we got
So
this guy.
I mean,
nope.
it tells you the region. It's coming from Central America and India.
It's
It's a
coming
blend.
from Hershey's factory in Pennsylvania. That peanut butter cup. Come on.
It's got low body, medium acidity, and it's got everything on there, plus flavor. $13 a pound. I don't know what it is shipped.
I can't. Nope. I can't do it.
It's not going to happen,
Nope,
huh?
The whole part of the element of me starting coffee, and I've mentioned this before on that podcast, is I decided I'm going to drink coffee, and then I decided it is going to be black coffee because then no matter
Well,
what
'cause
the
you have to be a
scenario is,
man.
you have to be a man, and no matter what the scenario then is, you could drink the coffee.
Right.
Oh, we have all these things, and you're like, nope, black. Like you're not dependent upon the things being there. Because
Right.
if the things aren't there and you're dependent upon the things, then you don't want to drink the coffee. So, with flavor, I mean, immediately you saying chocolate chip peanut butter cup. That's like this.
So I
Why don't you add
think
some
there
foam to the
is
top of that
yeah,
thing?
there is a stigma. Like you
Yeah.
might taste that coffee and it's really good. But the fact that
Yeah.
you're drinking chocolate peanut butter cup
Just add,
is like-
add sugar and a cherry on top. Like
Yeah.
that's I don't know if that's coffee no more.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, let us know what you think.
Yeah. Are you a flavored coffee drinker? And if so, what's your flavor of choice? So that way we can tell you how wrong you are.
Right. And are our coffee snobs by default anti-flavor
Yeah.
fiends?
Yes, please. Oh my goodness. All right, what else we got here? You have, what is that? Balvenie 14?
Yes,
Is that a element in your like hand cream or something that you need? What is this?
Yes. In the spirit of trying out drinks,
Okay.
last night I had a scotch that's it's Balvenie or Balvenie, I'm not
Okay.
sure. 14-year and it's been aged in Caribbean rum casks. So I paired it with a cigar.
Now, what
We
if
had
it was
unseasonably
what if it was in
warm.
like Spanish rum cask? Would that be a different thing than Caribbean rum cask?
Probably, yes.
I'm already skeptical because it's Caribbean.
Right. Yeah, so it paired really well. I was super impressed. I got to use my flask for the first.
Nice.
And it was pretty handy. So here, according to a site, here are the tasting notes of this scotch. In the nose, the aroma is rich with notes of tropical fruits, namely passion fruit and creamy toffee.
Okay.
I admit to not smelling the scotch at all, so I don't know if that's true or not. The palate, sweet vanilla forms a creamy palate with notes of apples and mangoes with a hint of orange in the background. Now, I was pairing with a cigar.
You were praying with a cigar?
Pairing. I mean, I've with a cigar. To my mind, there was some vanilla in there, but it's not quite old enough to be smooth enough to pick up more of the fruit than the scotch part of it.
All right.
So there was still a little bit of bite. And I definitely picked up on it was smooth but spicy with the rum kind of impartation.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was bananas, but I don't know if I got any of the apple notes or mango notes.
I have no opinion. I have not drank this. Or drunk this?
Drunk.
Is it? I have not drunk. Yep. I have not drunk this.
Because I drank it yesterday, but I have drunk that before.
Okay.
Yeah.
It still doesn't sound
English
right.
is awkward.
Yeah. There you go. Learn something new.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And you paired it with a cigar. What cigar did you pair it with?
I paired it with an Abe Flores AFR 75.
Oh, a 75.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
It's his own personal AFR is his like monogram.
Okay.
Because it's Abe Rosario Flores or something like that.
Okay.
I to make it like
version
fancy.
75.
Yeah, I don't know. But
everything needs a number that has like a gold, like circular logo, like plate around it. You need some kind of number.
Well, and these cigars are phenomenal. They're probably my favorite cigars, and I was able to pick them up. I was able to bid on an auction, so I got a 5-pack, I think, for $15, and normally they're $14 a stick.
Wow!
So I was pretty pumped about that, and I got to try one out last night.
Wow!
And pair it with an awesome scotch. So
John definitely is more of a man than I. Scotch and cigar.
It's all right. So you have a superior beard, Bob.
I'm not gonna lie, it's rocking pretty much right now.
Yep,
it's at its fullness.
You have a grizzly bear.
I will say
on your face.
I will say I have been tempted to shave it off recently.
Really?
Just because I want to try to force spring to come, so that way we could go outside and play more disc golf.
There definitely is some kind of eldritch connection between your beard and the weather.
And I've always made the claim that when baseball season starts, I have to shave because that is the beginning of spring. And it's coming sooner and sooner.
And we all recoil in shock when that happens.
Yeah, I get sooner and sooner with it because my first year I did the beard, it was April 1st because that's opening day.
Okay.
Then I kind of moved it back until like the first Yankee spring training game. And I was like, all right, I could shave it. And then I'm possibly toying around with the idea of when pitchers and catchers report, which is like in 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
Well, we've had some warm weather.
Yeah,
it is.
We've had some 30-degree weathers,
pretty melty,
and almost 40 degrees. So, yeah, I guess Gabe and David went out yesterday during lunch, and you went out.
They said it was a slop fest. Yeah. I went on Thursday, and it was warm enough to be nice. I could golf in my sweater.
Yeah.
But it was cold enough that the snow still didn't stick to me.
Okay.
So that was nice.
That's perfect. All right. Well. Today is an Omni-Roast, so we don't really have a specific fresh roast topic. We're going to be hitting probably just a few things.
Yeah.
But we could just declare now it is fresh roast time. Do you want to declare it, John?
Sure.
Go
now is the time for the fresh roast.
All right. So we had last week, we talked about men and women in ministry. and kind of specifically with Mr. D. Swed, who's actually still in the coffee shop. He's talking with
Small town life, yeah.
Yep. D. Swed brought up, if a man has a prophetic word or feels like God is saying something to him to give to another woman in a church, that he should always bring someone else along.
Shouldn't give it alone.
Shouldn't give it alone. For a number of reasons. Go listen to the podcast for all of those reasons.
We vehemently disagree.
Yeah. It's
not that vehemently.
It's not that vehemently, but we disagreed. I mean, and that's okay. We basically said, man, I don't think so. And then it started getting into the conversation of like, well, what's acceptable between a man and a woman?
Right,
basically
like in
just
any
alone.
situation.
What is it? What is an acceptable alone situation? So Whitney listened to it, and then we started talking a whole slew of like scenarios. Right? She's coming up with the hypotheticals.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you and Johanna were coming up with the hypotheticals.
Yep.
Right? And it brought up some good conversations. And then Larry, one of our elders in church, he texts me, and he's like, "Hey, how about this scenario? I'm reffing volleyball in another town. My wife's normally comes with. She's not with this time. And I'm just going to talk while John walks away and gets more coffee. It's kind of weird. Just talking to the air. John, I need you. Okay, no, yeah, he's heard the story. So the Larry goes and he drives a couple hours away to go to a volleyball match tournament and ref there. And I think the plan was to spend the night in this town that's 2 hours away. And
it's a long 2 hours.
And it's
let
a
me tell
long
you.
2 hours.
This
Minnesota,
is not
Western
going
Minnesota.
to St. Cloud.
Yeah, Western Minnesota is like just there's nothing out there, right? So it's a long 2 hour drive. The rest of the refs that he was reffing with are all women. One of the ladies in the group had a sister who lived in the town and said, "My sister is willing to have us all up and sleep here tonight, so that way no one has to drive home." Larry, our elder, did not feel comfortable being the only dude in the house.
Yeah, and I think they've done it before.
And they've done it before, but
when
with
Darcy
him
goes,
and his wife.
Yep,
so then him and his wife get their own room in the house, and then they're fine. But he didn't feel comfortable this time being the only guy. And he responded with that his wife Darcy felt comfortable, but he didn't feel comfortable. Now, I apologize, Larry and Darcy, if you did not want me sharing this story.
We could have changed their names or something.
I could have changed the names. Okay, so we're going back in time. It's now Barry and Larcy. So you guys can beat me up later if you didn't want to share this story, but it was shared in another setting with a bunch of other people, so I feel like it's fairly public.
So it can be public to the world.
To the world, yeah. All 38 people who download this podcast, who are also in the church. So the question is, Larry asked, what would you have done? Would you have gone home? Or essentially more of what do you feel comfortable doing? Because in the situation, his wife felt, save the money. Don't get a hotel room. She was comfortable with
and
you staying in the room.
His alternative was not to get a hotel room.
No.
It was to drive home.
It was drive home the 2 hours at, what was it, like
this is
midnight.
a 2-day event, so we're talking basically doubling your travel
and he had to
time and
drive back
expense.
by an 8 a.m. game the next morning.
My goodness.
So he had to leave by earlier than 6 in
Right.
Motown to get 2 hours to the place to be there ready for an 8 a.m. game the next day.
If my wife is comfy with it. Okay, so this is the sister of one of the female refs.
Yes. And I guess, like you said, I think they've been there before.
They've been there before. I think if my wife is comfy with it, so am I.
Yeah.
At that point, I would probably be looking at the price of a hotel room.
Yeah.
But that might actually be more motivated by the fact that I'm an extreme introvert.
Yes.
And the idea of spending a night in someone else's house with a bunch of other people, like none of whom are my family, just sounds terrible. Actually.
Yeah, so there were no rooms in this scenario. And yes, I would have tried to find a room. So that's first up, I probably would have said, "No, you know what? I'll look for a room."
Yeah.
It's okay because
part of it's the vibe. Like if you're picking up a vibe like this could be kind of weird, and even if everybody says they're okay with it, it's like, okay, I'll maybe try to find a room.
Yeah. One of the elements I was thinking about was it's not necessarily trust or distrust with the two. Let's say there's two individuals, right? My wife and someone else, or me and another lady. It's not necessarily a trust issue. Oftentimes, of do I trust that everybody's on the up and up, and no one has like a by the way, I want to have an affair today type of attitude going into any situation, right? That's not it. To me, a lot of it is just protection for the weird that could hurt relationship.
Okay.
So you already have, let's say you already have a friendship between like me and another lady. There's probably a good argument for saying why risk what that is with the awkward and the weird and the just the potential of a weird situation happening that nothing sexual is going to happen or whatever, but
nothing overt,
nothing crazy, but just maybe something just a situation that you just become uncomfortable in.
Right.
Why put yourself into that? Why not protect yourself?
Right. And then that potentially sets precedent for any other time like that you get together. Yeah, I could see that. I don't know.
But I mean, if he had safeguards, but like as long as I have my own room and I know, like you would say to the ladies, I know maybe this is a little selfish, but I still kind of would like my own room, obviously separated from everyone. Right. Then I'd be okay with it. Yeah. But like, hey, we're all gonna sleep in sleeping bags in the living room. That's a little weird.
Yeah, I would say it's weird for other reasons. Like, I don't know. I'm like.
Yeah, I'm more introverted too. So I've gone. Now this brings up another point.
There you go.
Work trips. So I've had to travel to San Francisco a number of times for work, and my boss is a woman. We've had multiple other women who are part of our team travel there. So I am traveling for work with women. Okay.
Yeah. Alone with women.
Well,
how big are these groups, Bob?
Most of the time, there's 8 people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been like it's never even clicked in my mind that this could be an issue until someone brought it up after the podcast. Like, oh my gosh, you've traveled with work with a woman? I'm like, what are you talking about? What is the problem with this? Yeah. I just don't get it. And then I've mentioned, well, I've traveled in a car alone with a woman from work.
Oh, man.
And they're like, wait a second. You've traveled alone? Like, what if something could happen? I'm like, what, like an accident? Like, what do you mean what could happen? Apparently there was a Billy Graham rule that I didn't know about, that maybe this is a generational thing.
It could be
like Fear Factor, but just not for television, but for like riding alone in cars with women. Like, I don't.
Instead of spiders,
it's
car rides with women.
Christian Fear Factor. Could you imagine that episode of all right, we're gonna put you into a car with a woman. I can't do it. Like, how long can you
Don't make me do it.
Oh, man. That's hysterical. We're going to put you up front, and you're going to share the announcements. Christian Fear Factor.
Side note, just so we don't horribly offend anyone, if you feel uncomfortable with traveling in the car alone with a woman for work, don't do it.
All of this is like, is there... You're always supposed to be wise and smart in what you're doing, right? You have discernment, but I haven't had a situation yet where driving alone in a car with a woman has brought any issues, nor I think it's because of a condition of my heart.
Yeah, so here's a random... I was thinking about this, like, just putting it kind of in my own context. Mm-hmm. I don't see cars as an issue. I don't think, like, they're a trouble spot, like... Especially during the day, like you're alone, but not really. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
I guess the only element that happens is that you're in a restricted area, no one could leave, and someone could say something, and you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and you're in close proximity. Yeah. I mean, but cars are not gigantic.
That kind of crap
usually.
can happen in a hallway.
Right. So my thinking is the potential weirdness for a situation might stem from history, and I don't know. I'm thinking of like
carriages. Like there were problem with guys in carriages.
Those buggies, man. They were trouble spots. No, because cars can be, they're particularly famous rendezvous. Yes, for the high school type relationship.
Go to the overlook
right
at night.
So if you maybe partook of that. in high school. Maybe cars in general have a certain connotation that go along with them.
Yes. So,
and anytime there's like a one-on-one in a car, all of a sudden your brain just goes
like,
there. Like
isn't
maybe we should take a detour.
An avenue for sex, like a massage. Like don't give back rubs because you're gonna have sex.
Right.
Like,
so maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, I really appreciate, side note, in Pulp Fiction, the relationship between the two hitmen, Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta.
Yeah.
Because they remind me a lot of just these bizarre work conversations that I have, and a lot of them have to deal with like these really obscure things like, well, would you give another woman a foot massage? Like, and they talk about that for like 20 minutes. There's nothing in it. And he's like, well, would you give me a foot massage? Yeah. He's like, shut up. It's pretty great. But
oh, man. Yeah, that was a great side note. Yeah, I see where you're going because so I had a boss when I was in high school at a furniture repair shop, and we would do furniture deliveries. And he mentioned about how, for him, growing up, the car was a statement. It wasn't something that could get you from point A to point B. It was something that you aspired to get because it helped literally attract the ladies. It was something like of a statement piece about who you were.
Yeah. Like a status symbol.
It was a status symbol. It was, so when you mentioned that, like, what do cars mean to people? Maybe it is a car thing, like for like in my and I told him, I'm like, no, a car is to go from point A to point B. I don't care if it's a hoopty, and that was me in high school, and I drive more of a hoopty now than I did in high school. So to me, a car is point A, point B.
Right.
But I could see maybe it's smart to say be aware of what other people could be thinking, and just I don't know what. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean. Maybe if you happen to have a convertible, maybe the weirdness factor goes up a little bit. Oh. If you're offering ladies rides. Yeah.
Now you're in the South. It's a beautiful night in the country. The stars are out. And you were at a party and you're like, buddy, I gotta take this lady home. She doesn't feel so good. Don't worry, I'll do it. And it's in my convertible and the top's down. And you're
just adding way too many fares.
And then you turn on the radio and it's like
smooth
Etta James,
jazz.
Etta James is at last. Yeah, then you're asking for
you might be asking for it. To be honest, but a work trip, I just don't. Yeah. I think it would take maybe conscious effort to get there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that to me makes it
condition.
Safe.
Yeah, and to me, I'm like, that's the condition of the heart. Now, in everything, there's a risk. So there's always a risk of someone lying, right? Saying, he said this, she did that, something got weird, I don't feel comfortable, sexual harassment, blah, 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 blah. Like, there was a movie with Michael Douglas and Demi Moore, I think it was like Full Disclosure or Disclosure, something like that.
Okay.
Where she harassed him, then she sued him for sexual harassment and like got him all on him and everything. Like, I don't know. I'm going to risk relationship with people, and if they turn around and stab me in the back...
there's only so much you can do.
There's only so much I can do. Like, people can lie about anything at any time. They don't need a certain scenario to wait, oh, I got him. I'm going to lie about this now.
Right.
It's like you could just lie at any point. Like you could just
plenty of opportunity for
and
deception.
If you wanted to sue me for something, guess what? You're not getting much. I'm struggling to find out how I'm going to put siding on the house.
You're driving a hoopty.
Yeah, and I'm driving an '89 Toyota.
Yeah, man.
You're not getting a dime.
Yeah. So we also from Barry, spouse of Larcy.
Yeah.
We had the suggestion. To talk about
Santa Claus,
and the Easter Bunny,
the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny,
and the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. So the fake people you tell your kids exist. Oh man.
So okay, is it a matter of allowing your kids to have imagination? Is it deceiving your kids and then later rocking their world with truth bombs of, oh, by the way,
So anybody listening to this, by the way, they're all not real.
In case nobody has gotten there yet.
In case you haven't figured that out, they're not real. Okay, so to start off, as a kid, I was told there was a Santa. Then I remember a point in like 4th grade where I wasn't really thinking about does Santa exist or not, but there were kids in the back of the bus. One kid was Matt and an Angela. I can't remember the Matt's last name or the Angela's last name, apparently. Angela Simon. Yeah, and then Matt, like someone with an H.
Okay.
All of my high school friends will now remember who they are. I remember them saying that like Santa was more like a spirit and a feeling. And I was like, what? Really confused.
Right.
But even at 10, I was at the spot of like, well, I don't think there's a fat guy coming down the chimney giving us presents. Yeah. But is there something else to the Santa? You know? Okay. And getting it like, what else could it be? I don't have a like my heart is broken stage story.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
But I remember
you kind of just phased out of it.
I kind of phased out, I think. But I never looked at my parents and been like, wow, you lied to me all those years. I never thought that. But with my kids, so right away we had told them Santa Claus is not the fat guy in a red suit who's flying with reindeer. That does not exist. However, there was a real person named Saint Nick, who's a Christian, who gave gifts, was a tremendous individual in history. And that is probably part of the sentiment behind Santa Claus. But trust us, there's no fat guy in a red suit who's coming down into our house and giving gifts. It's us. So then when we had Christmas, they would look at us and be like, Mom, Dad, thank you so much for this gift. They knew that the gift was from us, that we took the time to love them and to think about them. And I would not trade that relationship-building moment for the world. Right. I distinctly remember Maggie and Gracie looking at us and being like, how thankful they were that we got them a gift that they so appreciated. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't from a fat guy in a red suit. And so our relationship got better.
Unless you add a bunch of pounds, Bob. Yeah. It could happen.
Yep. And so, there's no way to know what relationship would have been like as a kid closer to my mom and dad if the ones that were Santa Claus were the gifts that were labeled Santa were actually labeled Mom and Dad. I don't know. There's no way to tell, right? Yeah. And maybe they gave all the lame gifts that were all from Santa. I don't remember. And the real ones were from them, and and so it's actually a moot point. But I want the kids to also trust us. Yeah. And so I don't want there to be any doubt. When they're 13 and struggling with something, I want them to be able to come to me and know that I'm going to tell them the absolute truth all the time.
Right. Yeah. I see, I guess, why like Santa is a thing. Mm-hmm. But when I think about like myself and my own kids, I can't see myself like making something up about like the veracity of Santa. Like, oh yeah, kids, like he comes to our house and gives us like that to me is like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. And I think if they pick it up like by culture and they have an idea of what Santa is, like they watch movies or something, it's like,
no, our kids watch tons of movies with a Santa Claus in it or something like that. And one of my favorite movies of all time is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Okay. That's one of my favorite Christmas time movies. They know the story of Santa. My kids go to public school, and so, I mean, that's just a legit thing you're going to have to deal with. They know, I said, when it comes to other kids, you don't need to tell them there's no fat guy in a red suit, but you can tell them about the real St. Nicholas. Mm-hmm. There's a Christian guy who gave gifts, and we can tell you more about that, and you can share that with your friends too, and remind them of that, and that's perfectly fine. So, hopefully our kids are not going to be the heart wreckers for other children, but I also want them to be pillars of truth at the same time. So that's why I said, you know what, you can share this about who Saint Nick is. And plus also the focus of the thinking about now just Jesus juking it. The reason for the season is Jesus.
Yep.
And it's a celebration of his birth, not of a fat guy and us getting presents. It's not about that.
Yeah.
And my girls are getting, they ain't perfect. They love getting gifts. Who doesn't love getting gifts at Christmas? But they're also getting better and thinking about their sisters too. Of like, I want to get her this. I want to get her that. They want to give. And we're not doing it perfect, but I think we're doing it okay.
Yeah.
Tooth Fairy, we have a great story. So Maggie's finally starting to lose her teeth.
Okay.
That kind of sounds weird in itself. She's finally losing her teeth.
Well, I mean, how old is she?
She's 7.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Owen's lost a couple now.
Yep. And so we tell them, like, okay, there's a story about the Tooth Fairy, but really put your tooth in a bag and we'll give you a coin in the night, right? So she knows, like, what the Tooth Fairy is. They know of, like, these things are just stories to have fun with and enjoy and be a part of. But still, as long as you know what the truth is and you can walk in the truth, I don't see the problem with really just having fun with the stories.
Sure.
So she loses her second tooth. She wakes up in the morning. It was like on a Friday, so it's Saturday morning. I'm still in bed. She wakes up holding the bag still with the tooth in it. And she comes to the side of the bed. She goes, Mom, Dad, the Tooth Fairy forgot my tooth.
Uh-oh.
And we didn't really hear her.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like rolling up, waking up and going, what? What did you say, Maggie? She holds up the bag in our face. She goes, you forgot to give me money.
Let's cut the crap here.
Yeah, let's get the crap, guys. You forgot to give me $1. So we were like, oh, man, Maggie, do it again. Right, here's just $1. I don't remember what we gave her, but
yeah,
it was
I believe that I got money for my teeth.
I did too.
But part of the reason I think
quarters.
Was because my parents could not stand to let me have loose teeth.
Oh.
So as soon as it was loose, they were yanking on them to pull them out.
Ew.
So I feel like I earned that money.
You
by going through
money.
Hardship. Yes. I remember one we were sitting in. It was at the kitchen table in Starbucks, and they were putting some weight into it, just like bending it back, and I mean it didn't. There was pressure. It didn't really hurt that bad.
Okay.
Their teeth and the nerves are getting dead at that point. Whatever. But it was just not coming out. So they kept yanking and yanking and yanking. All of a sudden, pop, and the thing flew across the room, hit the counter, hit the cupboard, and bounced back under the table.
Oh my!
And we spent like 20 minutes looking for the tooth because, like, for all I knew, it exploded or something. It's like, come on, guys!
Oh, find the tooth.
Yeah, but for my kids, I mean, it's for Owen, the novelty has been. Like in looking at his own teeth in his hand, and we just haven't even brought anything up. And I don't know if that makes us bad parents or not, but like they've just fallen out at this point. And he's like, "Oh, cool, a tooth," and we're like, "Yeah, cool." Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess what's interesting is, in that moment of the first tooth, when you've never mentioned a tooth fairy before, you have a decision to make right in that moment.
Right. Well, and
now if you put it under your bed, I'll give you $0.25 tonight. And there's a story about a tooth fairy.
Right.
It's not real. It's really me.
And I think part of it was that Owen's first tooth probably got consumed because he was eating... I think it was supper, and he had a really loose tooth, and it was after supper, and I looked in his mouth, I was like, Owen, where'd your tooth go?
Oh, my goodness.
And he's like, well, I don't know. And he felt around, and it was gone, and we're like, well, yeah,
you
probably ate it. So, can't give him any money for that one.
Nope. Oh, man. I believe I lost my first tooth eating a turkey leg on Thanksgiving, and we have a picture of me, like, in the bites before me losing the tooth.
Okay.
Of me with this massive turkey leg, just consuming half my face, and then I.
Who's eating who here?
Yeah. Right. All right. Well, what else? Do we have anything else? Santa, Tooth Fairy. Trump got inaugurated.
He did.
He is now the president, and I gotta tell you. So we watched the whole thing at work. While we were working, we put it up on the TV.
Okay.
And it was very surreal. And I would imagine there was an element, when Reagan became president, because he was such a celebrity.
Yeah.
That he then, as president, people are like, wow, it's so weird. It's the actor. He's the president. but no way the Trump element is 10 times more than what Ronald Reagan is, but it's the only thing I could come up with
Sure.
to identify with the surrealness and history of this guy just becoming president.
Right. Just
It
because
was weird.
he's like such a personality.
He's such a personality. You know so much of him for the last 30 years.
Right.
And with all of his faults and all of his failures and all his successes and all of his elements of being in the public eye and not having any stinking political experience whatsoever or military experience, this guy's going to be president of the United States.
Yeah.
It was just really surreal. I didn't really... There were elements of his address that were okay, and there were elements I really didn't like. I think he painted a much bleaker image of reality than what currently exists.
Well, and that's what he staked
But
his
that's what he
campaign
ran
up.
on, and that's what got him elected.
Yep.
And do you see the images of how many people were there versus
Yes.
Obama's first one? Yeah.
Yep.
250,000 apparent people in the crowd for Trump's, 1.8 million for the 2009 Obama one.
Yep.
But also Obama's was more, in general, more historic. I mean, he was the first black president of
Yes.
the United States ever. So
Definitely.
there's a historic element to that.
There was history being made
Yep.
that day. The article I read likened his inauguration speech to yet another campaign,
Yeah, it was. It
Um,
felt a lot like that.
and that left kind of a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths, I
Yeah.
think. I did not watch it. I guess I am, now that everything is over and done with. Oh, okay, so right outside we have the women marching today.
Oh, there they go. Yeah.
And so this is another thing that is a little bit crazy and historical. If you ask me, there are, I believe, 6,000 other marches
Wow.
happening all over the country today.
Wow.
And it's women marching on Washington.
Wow.
And I think the only or the most recent time that there have been protests at a president's inauguration was, I believe, Nixon.
Well, Bush had protesters.
Bush did too?
In his second, I believe, in his second one.
Okay.
After 9/11.
Well, I'll blame Gabe for the misinformation.
Yeah. But it wasn't nearly like this. There was nothing like this.
Sure.
There were protesters at his parade and stuff like that. But
Okay.
Not like this level.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there you have it. It really happened.
It really happened. Only time's gonna tell what
Yeah.
the stink's gonna happen. I
Yep.
mean, he did. Apparently, he signed something about an executive order on Obamacare, and it was like described as ease of burden of Obamacare.
Okay.
And when CNN was reporting it last night, they're like, but no one knows what it is and does. And literally, the guy said, if there's anyone in the White House who is watching this, please tell us
Oh my
what
goodness.
this is, because no one knows what he signed. So,
Well, to be fair, there was a lot of mystery surrounding Obamacare
oh
when
my
it came
goodness.
in,
Yeah.
because it was such a massive thing. They're like,
Yep.
we
Yep.
don't really know what this does.
Yeah.
So
gonna be
yeah,
interesting.
like I say, now that it's all over and done with, or just beginning, I
It's
guess
just beginning.
my interest level is waning once more, and I'm like, I mean, we're here to be Christians
Yep.
and to be salt and light, and I refuse to get bent out of shape.
Yep. I think there are things that are going to happen that are completely outside of our control. That, guess what? It does not stop our mission. It does not stop our purpose. It doesn't stop what we do.
Yep.
There are things that are going to affect us.
It-
Probably. You know what?
It
There are
might
gonna be
actually
laws that
put
are
it
gonna be passed and
into
things that are gonna
sharper
affect us.
relief for the Christian,
Yep.
to be honest.
And we could have more potential for help and aid where
Mhm.
people didn't have that before, because there's going to be 18 million people possibly without health care coming up. So guess what? There might be more opportunity for the church to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I really hope we step up.
Yeah, there will be gaps to fill, I think,
Yeah.
in the charity department.
Yep. Anything else, Johnny? I think we've hit our fresh roasters.
Yeah. Well, let us do a couple words.
Okay, word me.
Okay. The first word is lachrymose.
Lachrymose.
Yes. LACHRYMOSE.
Lachrymose. Is the state of lazy something.
Lazy Saturday.
Lazy it is how one is lazy. The lazy level in which you use to tell people why you can't work that day.
Okay.
It is that state of being so lazy you tell people you just can't work.
Okay. The denotative version of that word would be tearful or given to weeping.
It's close.
Yeah.
No, it's not close. Tearful or giving it lachrymose. Interesting.
So apparently it's a formal kind of a literary word. I don't know how often we see it in speech, but yep. And then the second one is veridical.
Veridical.
Yep.
It is how one applies a stamp on an envelope.
Veridically?
Veridically, yeah. You either lick it or you don't.
Oh, I see.
If you apply moisture to the stamp, that's a veridical application of a stamp
Okay.
to an envelope.
It is. The definition is truthful.
Truthful.
Yep. So
Veridical.
it's another veracity. I'm guessing all of these stem from the Latin, but I'm not sure what that is. In Spanish, it's verdad.
Okay.
And it all has that same VER root.
Wow.
There you have it.
We're not only telling you why you should not ride in a car with a woman, why you should never tell your kids that Santa exists, but we're telling you what's truthful in the veridical sense.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Roasted Christian Podcast, and I'm Bobby.
I'm John.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.